Welcome to the CSS Tutorials Series by iJoomla.org. At this first video, I talk about getting started with CSS and the ways we can use it. CSS stands for Cascading Style Sheet, and it's the primary tool in case of styling and designing web pages. CSS resolves styles in a custom way through the HTML code, so for getting started with it, at least a basic knowledge of HTML is required. Now let's start with the easiest way we can use CSS. Inline CSS. We can write our CSS codes inside the HTML text using style attribute. Assume that we got an h1 tag in our HTML document and want to change its color using inline CSS. The style attribute goes inside the h1 tag this way, and the CSS codes go inside it. In this example, color is the CSS attribute and orange is its value. Now let's see how it affects our HTML document. As you see, the color of the h1 tag changed as expected. We'll talk about codes a lot more in the future, but for now, have in mind that color-related attributes work with both color name and hexadecimal codes of colors. This is what we call inline CSS. Now let's try the second method, that is internal CSS. When we want to use internal CSS method, we'll write our style codes inside the style tag at the head of the HTML document. The difference between this and inline CSS syntaxes is using bracket after the selector and around the attributes and values. As you see, the code I wrote internally is affecting the color of p tags of the HTML document. Now let's learn about the third method of coding CSS. This way is called external CSS, and it's the common way because of its clean, easy to modify and recognize, and also the best way in case of SEO. In external CSS, we create a CSS file and import it to the HTML document. The CSS file extension is .css. So the CSS codes we'll write in the CSS document affect the object of the HTML document. So I do it for EM tag. I change the color of all EM tags of the HTML document this way. But it does nothing on the HTML5 because it has not been imported yet. For importing the CSS to the HTML, we use link tag inside the head of our HTML file. The attributes we need to use are rel, that is style sheet, and href, that is the path to the CSS file, depending on the HTML location. I'm trying to keep this tutorial easy to understand, so I located the HTML and the CSS files both in the same directory, that is my desktop. For a situation like this, I just write the name of the CSS file. Now the CSS file is imported and affects all EM tags of the HTML document. We've used the three ways of using CSS in this video: inline CSS, internal CSS, and external CSS. One last thing you need to know is about priority of these methods. The priority of inline CSS is 1, and it overrides the codes written in internal and external modes. The priority of internal is 2, and it overrides the external CSS codes. Let's describe it with an example. I write a text inside a strong tag. Then I use external CSS for changing its color to yellow. So the tag is in yellow so far. Then I write an internal CSS for changing its color again, this time to red. And you see the internal CSS override the external that was yellow. Now I write an inline CSS for changing the color to black. As you guessed, the inline CSS I wrote overrided both internal and external CSS codes. Hope you've enjoyed the tutorial. Please leave comments suggesting or asking if any.